Hey guys, it's Let Your Light Shine. I got Steve-O here with me. If you see in the background, okay, now you see in the background, we're here in Old Town Vegas. Fremont Street is just a walk away. That's right.
Block and a half away.
So we did some history of some Old Town Vegas. We're currently in a parking lot, but it had some history. We're going to talk about Block 16.
And what used to be here on Block 16.
All right.
And this is not Block 16. This is like Block 16 as in a street name. This is an actual area.
Yes, and Steve-O is going to do a lot of the talking.
Well, I don't know.
I'm not sure if we should be apologizing now or if you should be thanking me. We will find out soon. All right, enjoy. All right, so this is what Block 16 looks like today. In case you're wondering, why do you keep saying what Block 16 is? What is it? Well, they called it the Red Light District. So, Steve-O!
In 1905, the railroad came here. And that's when they decided they're going to put a town. They wanted to build a railroad from Salt Lake City to LA. And so they needed a water stop. And Las Vegas, the only reason it's here in the first place is because there's water. So there was water here, and they needed a spot where they could stop the train and fill up the train with water. So it's a steam engine, and that's what it needed to be. So they needed to stop for repairs, things. You know, they can't drive all the way back to Salt Lake if you're halfway there already for repairs or anything. So a stop along the way made sense. So that's generally why there's a Las Vegas to begin with.
All right, so Steve-O, question or two. Tell me about, actually it was Block 16 and 17, but for some reason this particular block is talked about more. But tell me exactly what went down and why.
Well, Block 16 was a parcel where there were a bunch of blocks, and they numbered them off, 1 through whatever it was. So it was 16 and 17 were the blocks that they set aside for liquor licenses.
Without restrictions.
Without restrictions.
Mind
so you could have bars. And so those lots sold like hotcakes for a lot more money than the surrounding lots.
But wait, there's more, because there was more to that. Not just bars, not just gambling.
Prostitution.
Wide open prostitution.
Well, they weren't. They originally didn't think there was going to be prostitutes. They should have, but as soon as those, people bought those lots, and within a day or two, bam, there's a tent on the property, set up for business, selling liquor, and it took a couple of years for things to get rolling, but almost every tent and/or makeshift building that they built had a prostitute in it.
And that's interesting. That's what it was. It's just a bunch of tents around here.
Yeah, it was tents.
So from what we were reading, it didn't take long for those tents to outlaw them.
After a while, maybe I'd say by it started in 1905. By 1910, most of it was they kind of outlawed all the tents. They said, "Hey, we're going to get rid of all these tent structures. If you haven't got a regular building, you're out of business." So everybody pretty much put up a building.
Okay, so also though, I also read, and you probably read, between 1906 and 1916, so 10 years, the brothels were in the rooms in the back of all these new buildings that were made out of bricks, mortar, and wood. So what did they call them, Steve-O?
Well, you quizzed me earlier, but now I remember. I couldn't remember. But they were called cribs.
So that's kind of weird, huh?
Yeah. But all the prostitution was the people opened the bar, and then the prostitutes were like independent contractors. They had a room in the back, and the house wasn't taking any of the money from the prostitution.
Oh, so they just had their own deal?
She was her own independent business, selling her wares,
her nether regions,
and keeping the money for herself. So they actually had a little money, and they did get it taken advantage of. I read in the future there started being problems with pimps and things like that.
Yeah, they want a piece of that action.
The police actually shut down the pimps because this is a little bit farther down in the future, but police shut down the pimps because the people from the dam started coming to town, and the pimps were being, pimps trying to not shake people down and stuff for their money, and the workers were complaining, and they didn't want to stop those workers from coming to town, so the police went into town, kicked ass, and got rid of the pimps.
Wow. Popo helped.
Yeah.
Interesting. I keep telling Steve, because he doesn't have the vlog etiquette yet, and he keeps walking towards the camera closer and closer, and I keep backing up. And then what'd you say?
But I love you.
Oh my God.
She
okay.
wasn't buying that for a freaking second.
Okay. So what happened during Prohibition, buddy?
Oh, they ignored it.
They pretty much ignored it. They're like, yeah, whatever. I mean, they had to sell it in secret just like everyone else, the speakeasies, but they still continued on.
No, it was pretty much out in the open.
Yeah, I read that it was sold in secret.
They were, the bars and stuff, I mean, they tried to corral it and keep it in this area of Block 16, but it was open, and even the chief of police, the constable, he was in the bar drinking, and he's like, I don't care. They said a guy was quoted, hey, you know what? I'd just as soon have a bottle of beer with this guy than walk him down to the jail.
Wouldn't,
so,
right?
They pretty much ignored all the problems, and it's kind of funny because Las Vegas had this pioneer spirit of we are still the Wild West. And all these other towns are getting more civilized, Dodge City, all these other places. But here in Vegas, you still had that pioneer Wild West feel to you. And the people had that gritty, don't tell me what to do attitude. And I think that's
kind of the same now.
Stayed the same.
I feel like it's still
a real libertarian streak.
Yeah, I feel like that. I told Steve that.
This town.
I don't have to go to anything because I live in Vegas now. I can make up my own rules, right? To a point. You're like, shut up.
Yeah.
I do feel like I don't have as many restrictions living out here. I mean, as far as living up to a certain image or doing certain things, it's kind of nice. So I feel like that lifestyle still continues on today.
To walk towards
yes, don't walk towards me. Yes, you are on. Yes, I know. All right, you go.
So
you're on.
Okay. Don't let me forget what I was. Okay, so a big reason there was a long political struggle to get rid of prostitution, the red light district here on Block 16, and it started with the federal government. The federal government started spending a whole lot more money and branching out and bringing jobs to the state, and there was some concern over Las Vegas's freewheeling lifestyle about bringing in different things, and especially because of the military. The military wanted to do things here, and they couldn't.
I'm like going in, I back up, and I back up.
And so there was, it all started with them wanting to build a post office. And there was a big political struggle. They said, hey, we're not building a post office unless you get rid of all that garbage going on in Block 16. And they said, oh, okay, we'll get rid of everything on Block 16 and move it over to another area. And as soon as they said that, all the people on Block 16 got all pissed off, didn't want to move, and all the people over there in this other area got all pissed off because they didn't want that seedy crap in their
over there, yeah.
And so their solution was, let's just forget about it.
Forget about it. All right.
So they forgot about it, and then as things got closer and closer, and they just kind of said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to let you build the post office, and while you're building the post office, we will get rid of all that. And so lo and behold, they built the post office, and they never moved it, and the federal government never came marching in with soldiers to make them get rid of it. So it was everything was solved, problem solved.
But now I thought towards back in 1942 they started really cracking down on this, and they started arresting these prostitutes.
Yeah, you jumped ahead quite a bit, but no, it's fine. But yes, they eventually did really crack down, and that was all basically because of World War II. they kind of ignored it. Letters went to Franklin Roosevelt to shut that down, saying, the guy said, liquor's flowing like crazy during Prohibition. Liquor's flowing like crazy. There's prostitutes on every corner. There's 600 prostitutes out there. There were the most they ever had in the entire Block 16 was like 40.
Yeah.
But some guy totally exaggerated. They sent somebody out to investigate. They said, yeah, there's gambling and drinking and prostitution, but it's not nearly what this letter says it is.
Let me show you exactly what we're seeing as far as how big Block 16 is. I'll do a quick 180. Okay, so right now we're just in a parking lot. See, this is the street right here. So we're on 1st and Ogden right here. See, and that's Binion's is right there. So, and that's the California right here. So it's about that big, and then here we go. We see where the free parking Main Street, that's Ogden, or Stewart. So that's Ogden behind me, Stewart in front of me, so that's the end of that side of the block. And then you got this parking structure right here. Past this parking structure is the end of the block. So it's not that big of a block. And I mean, it's big enough, but not for that many prostitutions.
Small little bars.
They could probably, you know, put, yeah, a good handful of saloons in hotels, I guess, but not that many. So can't imagine how many thousands of prostitutes was my point.
No, this little block, there was just...
And I read that, like, they would arrest these prostitutes, but they would just go back to business again as soon as they came back. So it really didn't stop them.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the very end, what finally killed it?
Well, they said, hey, you're going to have to tear this out because we're bringing military bases in here. And if you don't rip this out, we're going to outlaw all military from your town. And your town, your people won't even, the military won't even be able to go into town to buy toilet paper or a toothbrush or anything if you don't get rid of it. And so they finally just said, okay, we'll get rid of it.
Well, I also read that they also had canceled all the liquor and slot machine licenses too.
That's how they shut it down. They didn't really have to shut down the prostitution because...
Yes, Cisco truck, we hear you.
No liquor. You weren't allowed to sell liquor, and you weren't allowed to
gamble,
which is where all the money was coming from for them. The prostitutes were their own business.
Right, but without all that, then that just pretty much, that was what finally closed. I mean, they kept threatening all these threats.
And
they
it was still
arrested them,
running around to all these other hotels. It was all went underground basically after that, because it wasn't openly sanctioned on Block 16.
Okay,
but everything was still around.
They just moved. I was wondering what happened at the end when it all closed down. And they obviously tore it up. Now it's just a parking lot now.
All those liquor licenses and all those gambling licenses from Block 16 shut all that shut them down. And so prostitutes had to go find someplace else to work, and all those people that had buildings were out of business.
Now, what you said that now they didn't tear the buildings immediately after they vacated all this stuff.
Yeah, they just became like rundown YMCA's.
And then finally they said, this is gross, we're going to tear it down, and this is what you see now.
And then they
is this.
Tore down Paradise and put up a parking lot.
And this is what we got. This is our Block 16 today.
Mowed it down and put up a parking lot.
So imagine all the history on this land that we are standing on. Interesting history, might I say. And now, this is what it is. Nobody would have even known. People are probably looking at us wondering what the heck we're doing. Why are we filming a parking lot?
There were so many fun things that happened. I mean, they had... To give you an idea of what, it was still the Wild West, because there was a guy, he was a town, the book described him as a ne'er-do-well, which is, and I had to look that up.
Yeah.
A ne'er-do-well is a lazy, good-for-nothing, low-down, stinking scoundrel.
Alrighty.
And so he was a town scoundrel, town ne'er-do-well, and so he went into, this is very typical of what was going on when it was a Wild West town. The guy went out to a local ranch, stole a horse, rode it into town, sold it to somebody, took that money, and partied away in the casino and a whorehouse.
And lost it all.
And lost it all.
Oh, man.
And, but that was what the kind of town it was, All those fun things were happening.
Fun stuff. All right. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed Steve-O here. Everyone keeps talking about Steve-O getting his own channel, but...
Maybe.
I think he likes to
Don't hold your breath.
That's his words, not mine. I'm just saying. But I think he wants to steal off my channel, so that's fine, because he's doing all the research. I'm just doing the point and shoot, so I like that. Hope you enjoyed this. We tried looking up Block 16. It keeps pulling up like some kind of food court in the Cosmopolitan.
Yeah.
So I guess they have
when you
the
look
red
up
light
Block
district
16,
or something.
you end up in. I'm like, what is this Block 16? All I found was the food court.
Cosmopolitan. Yeah, I couldn't find much.
Yeah.
So
It looks
might
like a
be-
nice food court.
Yeah,
I
it
don't know,
looks
like
cool, and
gourmet.
it's probably off this historical
I think
landmark that we are standing
Yeah,
on.
they named it after this, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
I don't know why there's no plaque. And maybe it's just something. It's Sin City. Why do they care? You would think they would put something up about this. It's not a shameful thing. It's Vegas, man. It's what we do in Vegas.
Some of them must spend the money.
Anyway, hope you enjoyed this vlog. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll be back for some more cool stuff. Bye, everybody.